The Pacific Ocean had become a vast battlefield. The Imperial Japanese Navy, once seemingly unstoppable, was now stretched thin. Its garrisons scattered across distant islands were starving, desperate for supplies. Convoys of transports and cargo ships, protected by destroyers, were their lifeline. Japanese commanders believed these convoys were safe. Surely nothing could threaten them except submarines or bombers. Yet, hidden in the shadows of the night, America had unleashed a weapon that no one expected could change the course of a campaign. The patrol torpedo boat, or PT boat. Small, wooden, barely 80 feet long, and armed with torpedoes capable of sinking ships 10 times their size. The Solomon Islands had become a deadly arena. After the bloody fighting on Guadalcanal, Japan was desperate to keep its foothold in the region. Supplies had to reach soldiers stranded on jungle-covered islands. Without fuel, food, or ammunition, Japan's war machine would collapse. The Japanese tried everything. They used destroyers for high-speed runs, nicknamed the Tokyo Express. They used barges that crept along the shoreline. But again and again, American forces sought to cut them off. For the U.S. Navy, deploying battleships or cruisers for every convoy was impossible. They needed a cheaper, faster solution. And so, PT boats were thrown into the fight. The PT boat was never designed to take on a fleet head-on. Made of layered plywood powered by 3 roaring Packard engines, it was fast, over 40 knots. Each boat carried 4 torpedo tubes, multiple 50-caliber machine guns, and sometimes a 20-millimeter cannon. Its crews were often young, barely out of high school. They were daring, reckless, and treated their boats like fighter planes of the sea. The Japanese mocked them, calling them devil boats, yet quietly feared their speed. For in confined waters at night, a PT boat could strike like a wasp, fast, unpredictable, and deadly. One particular night in 1943, the Japanese organized a major convoy. Several transports loaded with troops, food, and ammunition steamed southward, escorted by destroyers armed with heavy guns and depth charges. Their mission: reinforce the garrisons still clinging to the Solomons. Japanese commanders were confident. They dismissed the American PT boats as nothing but nuisances, small craft unworthy of serious attention. But the Solomon Seas told a different story. The narrow straits, the cover of jungle-lined shores, and the brilliance of moonlit nights were perfect for ambushes. Waiting for them in the shadows were the mosquito boats. Engines throttled down to silence. American PT boats floated like ghosts on the black water. Crews whispered. Sweat dripped. Every man listened for the faint thrum of Japanese propellers. Then, the sound. A low rumble. A convoy was approaching. At once, the PT boats sprang into motion. Engines roared to life, throwing up foamy wakes. Torpedoes were readied. The order was given. Fire. Streaks of white tore across the ocean as American torpedoes raced toward their targets. Seconds later, impact. A massive Japanese transport erupted in flame, shuddering as its hull split apart. Another torpedo slammed into a second ship, sending towering columns of water and fire into the night sky. The Japanese escorts panicked. Destroyers opened fire, their guns spitting tracers across the water. But the PT boats were too fast, weaving through the darkness, zigzagging to avoid hits. Machine guns rattled as American crews returned fire, spraying the decks of Japanese ships. Amid the chaos, more torpedoes slammed home. Convoy after convoy vessel slipped beneath the waves. For Japanese sailors, it felt like being attacked by phantoms, small, swift boats appearing out of nowhere, striking with deadly force, then vanishing back into the night. Japanese commanders could hardly believe what was happening. Their heavy escorts were firing blindly into the sea, but transports were exploding, sinking, burning. How could plywood boats devastate an entire convoy guarded by destroyers? Their reports afterward revealed humiliation. They had underestimated the Americans and paid dearly. Vital supplies and reinforcements were lost to the depths. Soldiers waiting on remote islands would never see their food or ammunition. The strength of Japan's hold on the Solomons was slipping away. The destruction of the convoy marked a turning point. PT boats proved their worth, showing that speed, courage, and daring tactics could cripple larger fleets. Their success was not measured only in ships sunk, but in the psychological blow. Japanese sailors began to fear the darkness of the Solomon's waters, never knowing when a swarm of mosquito boats might strike. These victories helped tip the balance of the Solomon Islands campaign. Starving Japanese troops weakened, while America gained the upper hand. Even years later, the PT boat became legendary. One young lieutenant, John F. Kennedy, would command PT-109, forever linking these wooden craft with American courage. In the vast Pacific War, great battleships and aircraft carriers often steal the spotlight. But sometimes, history is shaped by the smallest warriors. On that night, Japanese commanders were stunned when their mighty convoy fell to fragile wooden boats, and the world was reminded that in war, it is not always size that decides victory, but speed, surprise, and the courage of those who dare.